Question 1. A project team is consistently missing sprint goals despite high individual velocity, and the product owner often introduces new, unplanned features mid-sprint. The Scrum Master has facilitated several retrospectives, but the issues persist. What is the most appropriate next action for the Scrum Master? A. Escalate the product owner's behavior to their functional manager and the project sponsor. B. Coach the product owner on the importance of stable sprint goals and the impact of scope creep. C. Mandate stricter adherence to the definition of done to prevent partial completion of features. D. Increase the length of the sprints to allow more time for feature completion and adaptation. Answer: B. Coach the product owner on the importance of stable sprint goals and the impact of scope creep. The most appropriate next action for the Scrum Master is to coach the product owner. A core responsibility of the Scrum Master is to coach the product owner in product backlog management and optimizing value, which includes ensuring sprint goals are stable and understood. The product owner's behavior of introducing unplanned features mid-sprint directly impacts the team's ability to meet sprint goals and reflects a misunderstanding of Scrum principles regarding sprint commitment and scope stability. Coaching aims to address the root cause by educating the product owner on their role and the detrimental effects of frequent scope changes within a sprint, ultimately improving the team's ability to deliver predictable increments. This approach fosters internal resolution and continuous improvement rather than immediate escalation or a change in process without addressing the underlying behavioral issue. Question 2. During project execution, a key stakeholder expresses concerns that the project's current direction, while technically sound, no longer aligns with the organization's evolving strategic objectives. The project manager reviews the business case and realizes that the market landscape has shifted significantly. What should the project manager do first? A. Initiate a formal change request to realign the project scope with the new strategic objectives. B. Document the stakeholders' concerns and proceed with the current project plan, monitoring the strategic impact. C. Convene a meeting with key stakeholders and the sponsor to reassess the project's continued viability and strategic alignment. D. Perform an updated risk assessment to identify new threats and opportunities related to the changing strategic landscape. Answer: C. Convene a meeting with key stakeholders and the sponsor to reassess the project's continued viability and strategic alignment. When a project's strategic alignment is questioned due to significant external shifts, the project manager's primary responsibility is to ensure the project still delivers value consistent with organizational goals. The first step is to convene a meeting with key stakeholders and the sponsor to reassess the project's viability and strategic alignment, as this directly addresses the core concern about the project's purpose. This collaborative approach allows for a collective decision on whether to pivot the project, put it on hold, or even terminate it, based on updated strategic priorities. Changing the scope or only assessing risks without this initial strategic reevaluation could lead to investing more resources in a project that is no longer relevant or valuable. Question 3. A project manager is overseeing a complex software development project. During the planning phase, the team identifies a high-impact, high-probability risk related to integrating a third-party module due to its unstable API. The team proposes developing a custom interim interface as a workaround, increasing initial costs but potentially avoiding significant delays. Which risk response strategy is being employed? A. Accept. B. Mitigate. C. Transfer. D. Exploit. Answer: B. Mitigate. The risk response strategy being employed is mitigation. Mitigation involves taking action to reduce the probability or impact of a risk event. In this scenario, developing a custom interim interface to handle an unstable third-party API is a proactive step designed to reduce the likelihood of integration problems or lessen their potential impact on the project schedule. The team is not eliminating the risk entirely, but rather reducing its severity by investing in a workaround. This proactive measure aims to make the risk more manageable should it occur, rather than simply accepting its consequences, shifting it to another party, or trying to make it happen. Question 4. A project team is consistently exceeding its velocity targets in recent sprints. However, the product owner observes that the completed features, while functional, do not consistently meet the user's evolving needs as articulated in user stories and feedback. What is the most likely cause of this discrepancy? A. The definition of done is too lax, allowing incomplete or low-quality features to be accepted. B. The product backlog is not being refined frequently enough or is poorly prioritized. C. The Scrum Master is not adequately protecting the team from external interruptions. D. The team is overestimating the complexity of their user stories, leading to inflated velocity. Answer: B. The product backlog is not being refined frequently enough or is poorly prioritized. The most likely cause of the discrepancy between high velocity and features not meeting evolving user needs is an inadequately refined or poorly prioritized product backlog. While the team is efficient at completing items, if the items themselves do not accurately reflect current user needs or business value, then even high velocity won't lead to desired outcomes. The product owner's responsibility includes continuously refining the product backlog, ensuring it's ordered by value, and keeping items clear and updated based on feedback and evolving understanding. This ensures the team is always working on the most valuable and relevant items, directly connecting output with actual user requirements. Question 5. A project manager is leading a project that has high technical complexity and a rapidly changing external environment, requiring frequent adjustments to scope and requirements. The sponsor, however, prefers a fixed-price contract for key deliverables. What is the best contracting strategy for this scenario? A. A single, comprehensive fixed-price contract for the entire project to ensure cost control. B. A time and material, T&M, contract to allow flexibility for changing requirements. C. A fixed-price incentive fee, FPIF, contract for the fixed elements, combined with an agile approach for evolving requirements. D. A cost-plus award fee, CPAF, contract to incentivize the vendor for performance regardless of changes. Answer: C. A fixed-price incentive fee, FPIF, contract for the fixed elements, combined with an agile approach for evolving requirements. The best contracting strategy for this scenario is a fixed-price incentive fee, FPIF, contract for the fixed elements, combined with an agile approach for evolving requirements. The project has both high technical complexity and a rapidly changing environment, indicating that not all requirements can be fully defined upfront. An FPIF contract allows for a fixed price for clearly defined deliverables while providing incentives for performance, balancing cost control with flexibility. For the evolving aspects, integrating an agile approach, perhaps with time and materials for iterations or smaller fixed-price increments for defined user stories, provides the necessary adaptability. This hybrid approach caters to both the sponsor's preference for fixed pricing where possible and the project's inherent need for flexibility due to uncertainty. Question 6. A project team is developing a new mobile application. During user acceptance testing, UAT, several critical defects are identified that require significant rework, impacting the project schedule. The project manager traces these defects back to requirements that were ambiguous and incomplete during the initial planning phase. Which project management process or concept was primarily deficient? A. Validate scope. B. Control quality. C. Plan quality management. D. Collect requirements. Answer: D. Collect requirements. The primary deficiency in this scenario lies with the collect requirements process. The identification of critical defects during user acceptance testing, directly attributed to ambiguous and incomplete requirements, points to a failure in thoroughly defining and documenting stakeholder needs at an early stage. If requirements are not clear, comprehensive, and unambiguous from the outset, subsequent design, development, and testing efforts will inevitably lead to rework and defects, as the team builds against an unclear target. Thoroughly collecting and clarifying requirements is foundational to successful project execution, as it ensures that the project delivers what stakeholders actually need. Question 7. A project team is struggling with frequent, unstructured meetings that often derail without clear outcomes. The project manager observes that attendees vary, agendas are rarely set, and decisions are often revisited. Which communication concept is most neglected in this scenario? A. Communication channels. B. Communication method. C. Communication management plan. D. Communication technology. Answer: C. Communication management plan. The most neglected communication concept in this scenario is the communication management plan. This plan defines how, when, and by whom information will be administered and disseminated throughout the project. The symptoms described, frequent, unstructured meetings without clear outcomes, varying attendees, lack of agendas, and revisited decisions, all indicate a lack of established guidelines and processes for effective communication, which are precisely what a robust communication management plan would address. Without such a plan, communication becomes ad hoc and inefficient, leading to wasted time and misunderstandings. Question 8. A large, matrix organization is implementing a new enterprise resource planning (ERP) system. During implementation, a key department head consistently diverts resources and staff away from the project to support their own departmental priorities, even though they previously approved the project's resource plan. This behavior causes significant delays. What is the most appropriate initial action for the project manager? A. Inform the project sponsor about the department head's non-compliance and request intervention. B. Replan the project schedule to accommodate the resource diversion and communicate the new timeline. C. Document the resource issues and their impact, then hold a direct conversation with the department head to understand their concerns and seek a resolution. D. Issue a formal warning to the department head, citing their commitment to the project. Answer: C. Document the resource issues and their impact, then hold a direct conversation with the department head to understand their concerns and seek a resolution. The most appropriate initial action for the project manager is to document the resource issues and their impact, then hold a direct conversation with the department head to understand their concerns and seek a resolution. Before escalating, a project manager should always attempt to resolve conflicts and issues directly with the involved parties. This approach respects the department head's authority, allows for a deeper understanding of their motivations or constraints, and fosters a collaborative resolution. Escalation should typically be pursued only after direct communication fails to resolve the issue, as it can damage relationships and create an adversarial environment. Question 9. A project manager discovers that a critical vendor, providing a unique component, is experiencing financial difficulties that could lead to bankruptcy. There are no other immediate suppliers for this component without significant cost and schedule impacts. The project manager decides to invest in an alternative, less efficient component from a stable supplier as a backup, while also offering the original vendor a partial advance payment to help stabilize their situation. This is an example of addressing what type of risk? A. Secondary risk. B. Residual risk. C. Emergent risk. D. Contingent risk. Answer: D. Contingent risk. This scenario describes addressing a contingent risk. A contingent risk is a risk that might occur depending on the outcome of another event or condition, and for which a specific response plan is prepared in advance. The project manager is proactively managing a known risk, vendor financial difficulties, by implementing pre-planned actions, securing a backup component and offering advance payment, to mitigate the potential negative impact. This is not a secondary risk, which arises from the risk response itself, nor is it residual risk, the remaining risk after responses are implemented, or an emergent risk, a new, unforeseen risk. The actions taken are direct responses to a foreseen, conditional threat. Question 10. A project team is utilizing an agile approach, delivering increments frequently. The stakeholders express satisfaction with the frequent deliveries but are concerned about the overall direction of the product, feeling it's not consistently aligned with the long-term vision. Which agile role is primarily responsible for ensuring this long-term alignment and communicating it to the team? A. The Scrum Master, by facilitating better communication during sprint reviews. B. The development team, by continuously refactoring and adapting to feedback. C. The product owner, by managing and communicating the product vision and roadmap. D. The project manager, by integrating traditional project planning into the agile process. Answer: C. The product owner, by managing and communicating the product vision and roadmap. The product owner is primarily responsible for ensuring the long-term alignment of the product with the overall vision and communicating this to the team. This role is accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team, which includes clearly articulating the product vision, managing the product backlog, and ensuring that the work aligns with strategic business objectives. While the Scrum Master facilitates and the team develops, it is the product owner who continuously steers the product toward its long-term goals by prioritizing and refining the backlog based on the evolving vision and stakeholder feedback. Question 11. In a highly regulated industry, a project manager is leading a project to develop a new medical device. The project experiences delays due to extensive documentation and validation requirements imposed by regulatory bodies throughout the product development lifecycle. Which project management principle from PMBOK Guide, 7th edition is most challenging to uphold in this context? A. Stewardship. B. Value. C. Tailoring. D. Complexity. Answer: C. Tailoring. In this scenario, the principle of tailoring is most challenging to uphold. Tailoring involves adapting the project approach and processes to the unique characteristics of the project and its context, rather than blindly following a predefined methodology. In a highly regulated industry, the extensive, non-negotiable documentation and validation requirements imposed by external bodies significantly limit the project manager's ability to tailor processes, tools, or techniques to optimize efficiency or flexibility. While other principles are relevant, the external constraints directly restrict the freedom to adapt the approach, making tailoring particularly difficult. Question 12. A project team has adopted a hybrid approach, using Agile for software development and a predictive approach for hardware procurement and integration. The team encounters a critical hardware compatibility issue identified late in the integration phase. What would be the most effective approach to manage this unexpected issue? A. Treat it as a project change request, follow the integrated change control process, and update the predictive plan. B. Incorporate the issue into the next sprint's backlog as a high-priority item for the Agile development team. C. Convene a cross-functional meeting with both Agile and predictive teams to collaboratively determine the impact and devise a solution. D. Document the issue in a lessons learned register and address it in future projects, proceeding with the current plan. Answer: C. Convene a cross-functional meeting with both Agile and predictive teams to collaboratively determine the impact and devise a solution. The most effective approach is to convene a cross-functional meeting with both Agile and predictive teams to collaboratively determine the impact and devise a solution. In a hybrid environment, critical issues often span the boundaries of different approaches. A hardware compatibility issue, while identified in the predictive phase, likely has implications for the Agile software component, e.g., driver updates, software adjustments. A collaborative meeting ensures that all relevant perspectives are considered, fostering a shared understanding of the problem and enabling the development of a holistic solution that accounts for both hardware and software implications. This integrated approach leverages the strengths of both methodologies to address the complex problem. Question 13. A project manager is reviewing the project's earned value metrics. The Cost Performance Index, CPI, is 0.85, and the Schedule Performance Index, SPI, is 1.15. What is the most accurate interpretation of these figures? A. The project is over budget and behind schedule. B. The project is under budget and ahead of schedule. C. The project is over budget and ahead of schedule. D. The project is under budget and behind schedule. Answer: C. The project is over budget and ahead of schedule. A CPI of 0.85 indicates that for every dollar planned to be spent, only 85 cents of work has been earned, meaning the project is over budget. Conversely, an SPI of 1.15 means that for every hour or unit of time planned, 1.15 units of work have been completed, indicating the project is ahead of schedule. Therefore, the most accurate interpretation is that the project is over budget and ahead of schedule. Remember that for both CPI and SPI, a value greater than 1.0 is favorable, while a value less than 1.0 is unfavorable. Question 14. A project team is utilizing a Kanban board for managing their workflow. The testing column frequently accumulates a large number of completed items, indicating a bottleneck, while the development column often has idle team members. What is the most effective Kanban practice to address this situation? A. Increase the work in progress (WIP) limit for the testing column to allow more items to flow through. B. Assign more developers to help with testing activities to alleviate the bottleneck. C. Lower the work in progress (WIP) limit for the development column and encourage cross-functional collaboration. D. Add more columns to the Kanban board to further break down the workflow steps. Answer: C. Lower the work in progress (WIP) limit for the development column and encourage cross-functional collaboration. The most effective Kanban practice to address a bottleneck in the testing column and idle developers is to lower the work in progress (WIP) limit for the development column and encourage cross-functional collaboration. Lowering the WIP limit for development will naturally slow the influx of new items into testing, preventing further pileup. By having developers wait for items to move out of testing before starting new development, it encourages them to assist with testing or other downstream activities to pull work through the system, fostering a collaborative, flow-based approach. This optimizes the entire workflow rather than just one stage. Question 15. The project sponsor unexpectedly resigns, and a new sponsor is appointed who has a different vision for the project's long-term outcomes and expects significant changes to the agreed-upon deliverables. The project manager's most immediate action should be to A. Proceed with the original project plan until formal change requests are submitted and approved. B. Initiate the project closing process, as the original project is no longer viable. C. Update the stakeholder register and stakeholder engagement plan with the new sponsor's details and expectations. D. Schedule a meeting with the new sponsor to understand their vision, clarify expectations, and assess the potential impact on the project objectives. Answer: D. Schedule a meeting with the new sponsor to understand their vision, clarify expectations, and assess the potential impact on the project objectives. The project manager's most immediate and crucial action when a new sponsor is appointed with differing expectations is to schedule a meeting with them. This direct interaction is essential to understand their vision, clarify their expectations, and assess the potential impact on the project's objectives and deliverables. This proactive engagement helps establish rapport, ensures alignment, and enables the project manager to determine the necessary next steps, such as initiating change requests or rebaselining, based on a clear understanding of the new strategic direction. Without this direct communication, proceeding with the original plan or prematurely closing the project would be irresponsible. Question 16. During a project's execution phase, a critical team member unexpectedly resigns. The project manager quickly identifies a replacement with similar technical skills, but the new team member lacks specific knowledge of the project's unique domain and established team dynamics. What is the best approach for the project manager to integrate the new team member effectively? A. Assign the new team member to individual tasks that require minimal team interaction until they become familiar with the project. B. Provide the new team member with all relevant project documentation and expect them to self-learn quickly. C. Pair the new team member with an experienced team member for mentorship and accelerate their understanding of domain specifics and team processes. D. Increase the project manager's direct oversight of the new team member's work to minimize potential errors. Answer: C. Pair the new team member with an experienced team member for mentorship and accelerate their understanding of domain specifics and team processes. The best approach for the project manager to integrate the new team member effectively is to pair them with an experienced team member for mentorship. This strategy accelerates the new member's understanding of both the unique project domain and the established team dynamics, overcoming their specific knowledge gaps. Mentorship provides direct, real-time guidance, allows for knowledge transfer, and helps the new member quickly become a productive and integrated part of the team. Simply providing documentation or increasing oversight without active support would be less efficient in building the necessary expertise and team cohesion. Question 17. A project manager is conducting a qualitative risk analysis for a new product launch. The team identifies a risk: new competitor enters the market prior to our launch. They assess the probability as medium and the impact as high. Which of the following is the most appropriate next step for this risk? A. Develop a detailed risk response plan for the identified risk. B. Monitor the risk closely, as it is non-critical due to its medium probability. C. Update the risk register with the assessment and proceed to quantitative risk analysis for all identified risks. D. Escalate the risk to senior management for their immediate attention and decision. Answer: A. Develop a detailed risk response plan for the identified risk. Given that the risk of a new competitor entering the market has a medium probability and high impact, it is considered a significant threat that warrants immediate attention. Therefore, the most appropriate next step is to develop a detailed risk response plan for this specific risk. Risks with high impact, even with medium probability, can severely affect project objectives, making it crucial to proactively determine strategies to mitigate, avoid, transfer, or accept them. Simply monitoring or escalating without a proposed response doesn't address the problem effectively, and quantitative analysis is typically performed on risks that have already been prioritized qualitatively. Question 18. A project team is transitioning from a traditional waterfall approach to an Agile Scrum framework. During the first few sprints, the team struggles with self-organization, and individual team members often work in silos rather than collaboratively. What is the most critical activity the Scrum Master should focus on to address this challenge? A. Conduct daily stand-ups more rigorously, enforcing updates from each team member. B. Coach the team on the principles of self-organization and cross-functionality, removing impediments to collaboration. C. Implement stricter adherence to the definition of done to ensure shared responsibility for quality. D. Re-evaluate the sprint length, potentially extending it to give the team more time to adapt. Answer: B. Coach the team on the principles of self-organization and cross-functionality, removing impediments to collaboration. The most critical activity for the Scrum Master to address a team struggling with self-organization and working in silos is to coach them on the principles of self-organization and cross-functionality, while actively removing impediments to collaboration. The Scrum Master's role is not to direct the team, but to serve them by fostering an environment where they can learn to self-organize and work as a cohesive unit. This involves teaching the benefits of collaboration, helping resolve interpersonal issues, and removing any structural or organizational barriers that prevent them from operating as a unified, cross-functional team, rather than simply enforcing ceremonies or changing sprint length. Question 19. A project manager is overseeing a complex R&D project with significant technological uncertainty. The project has a high likelihood of encountering unforeseen challenges and requires extensive learning and adaptation throughout its lifecycle. Which project life cycle approach would be most suitable for this project? A. Predictive life cycle. B. Iterative life cycle. C. Incremental life cycle. D. Adaptive life cycle. Answer: D. Adaptive life cycle. For a complex R&D project with significant technological uncertainty and a need for extensive learning and adaptation, an adaptive life cycle, often referred to as Agile, is the most suitable approach. This life cycle is characterized by a high degree of change and uncertainty, where requirements are continuously refined and new discoveries lead to adjustments in the project's direction. Unlike predictive, which assumes stable requirements, iterative, which delivers through repeated cycles but may deliver one large increment, or incremental, which delivers in small, usable chunks, an adaptive approach emphasizes rapid iterations, continuous feedback, and flexibility to respond to evolving information, making it ideal for high uncertainty environments. Question 20. A project manager is reviewing stakeholder engagement during a project's execution. It's noted that a powerful, highly interested stakeholder, initially categorized as neutral, has recently become resistant due to perceived lack of communication regarding certain project decisions. What is the first step the project manager should take to address this? A. Update the stakeholder engagement plan to increase communication frequency for this stakeholder. B. Reassess the stakeholder's current and desired engagement levels and the reasons for the shift in engagement. C. Escalate the stakeholder's resistance to the project sponsor for intervention. D. Conduct a meeting with the stakeholder to explain the rationale behind the project decisions. Answer: B. Reassess the stakeholder's current and desired engagement levels and the reasons for the shift in engagement. When a critical stakeholder's engagement shifts negatively, the first step for the project manager is to reassess their current and desired engagement levels and, crucially, understand the underlying reasons for this change. Before deciding on a specific communication action or escalation, it's vital to diagnose why the stakeholder has become resistant. This deepens the understanding of their concerns, potential misconceptions, or unmet needs, which then informs the most effective strategy to re-engage them. Simply increasing communication without understanding the root cause might not resolve the actual issue. Question 21. The project team has successfully completed all deliverables, and the client has formally accepted the product. The project manager is now initiating the project closing process. Which of the following is a critical activity that must be completed during this phase, regardless of project success or failure? A. Conduct a final performance review for all project team members. B. Update the organizational process assets with lessons learned documentation. C. Obtain final payment and close out all financial accounts related to the project. D. Release the project team resources to their functional managers or future assignments. Answer: B. Update the organizational process assets with lessons learned documentation. A critical activity that must be completed during the project closing process, regardless of project success or failure, is updating the organizational process assets with lessons learned documentation. Lessons learned capture what went well, what went wrong, and what could be improved for future projects, providing invaluable knowledge for the organization. This step ensures that organizational knowledge is systematically recorded and made available, contributing to continuous improvement and preventing similar mistakes in subsequent projects. While other options are important closing activities, updating OPA with lessons learned is fundamental for organizational learning and maturity. Question 22. A large, distributed Agile team is consistently missing sprint goals. The Scrum Master observes that communication between team members, especially across different time zones, is strained, leading to misunderstandings and delayed problem solving. What is the most effective tool or technique the Scrum Master should recommend to improve transparency and collaboration? A. Conduct all daily stand-ups at a single, agreed-upon time convenient for the majority. B. Implement a robust knowledge management system for all project documentation. C. Encourage increased use of asynchronous communication tools like dedicated chat channels, wikis, or shared collaboration platforms. D. Increase the frequency of formal team meetings to bridge communication gaps. Answer: C. Encourage increased use of asynchronous communication tools like dedicated chat channels, wikis, or shared collaboration platforms. For a large, distributed Agile team struggling with strained communication across different time zones, the most effective tool or technique is to encourage increased use of asynchronous communication tools. While synchronized meetings have their place, they become challenging with significant time zone differences. Asynchronous tools such as dedicated chat channels, wikis, or shared collaboration platforms allow team members to communicate, share updates, and access information at their convenience, without requiring everyone to be online simultaneously. This approach fosters transparency, reduces delays caused by waiting for real-time responses, and enables collaboration across geographical boundaries, directly addressing the core problem of strained communication due to distribution. Question 23. A project manager is leading a global project with team members from diverse cultural backgrounds. During an important decision-making meeting, one team member consistently defers to the project manager without offering their own opinion, even when prompted. This behavior is hindering open discussion. What is the most appropriate way for the project manager to facilitate better participation? A. Directly ask the team member why they are reluctant to share their opinion. B. Encourage the team to understand and respect cultural differences in communication styles. C. Implement a structured decision-making process that requires written input from all team members prior to the meeting. D. Schedule one-on-one sessions with the team member to gather their input privately. Answer: D. Schedule one-on-one sessions with the team member to gather their input privately. The most appropriate way for the project manager to facilitate better participation from a team member who differs due to cultural background is to schedule one-on-one sessions to gather their input privately. In some cultures, directly challenging authority or offering opinions contrary to a leader in a group setting can be considered disrespectful. A private, one-on-one discussion provides a safe and comfortable environment for the team member to share their thoughts and perspectives without the pressure of a public forum, respecting cultural norms while still ensuring their valuable input is considered for project decisions. Question 24. A project has been underway for several months. The project manager is using a burn-down chart to track progress. The chart shows that the team is consistently delivering less work than planned per iteration, and the burn-down line is flatter than expected. What does this indicate about the team's performance? A. The team is consistently exceeding its velocity. B. The team is completing work faster than anticipated. C. The team is not completing as much work as predicted, indicating they are behind schedule. D. The team is adding new scope mid-iteration, affecting completion. Answer: C. The team is not completing as much work as predicted, indicating they are behind schedule. A burn-down chart showing a flatter than expected line, meaning less work is completed per iteration than planned, indicates that the team is not completing as much work as predicted, which means they are behind schedule. The purpose of a burn-down chart is to show the remaining work over time. If the line is flatter, it means the rate of work completion is slower than the ideal burn-down rate, suggesting that the team is failing to meet its sprint goals or is taking longer than anticipated to finish tasks. This directly points to the team being behind schedule relative to their forecast. Question 25. A project is identified as having a high degree of ambiguity, meaning the requirements are ill-defined and evolving, and the solution itself is uncertain. The project manager's primary focus should be on creating a safe environment for experimentation and continuous learning. Which PMBOK guide, 7th edition performance domain is most directly addressed by this approach? A. Planning performance domain. B. Project work performance domain. C. Uncertainty and ambiguity performance domain. D. Measurement performance domain. Answer: C. Uncertainty and ambiguity performance domain. The scenario directly addresses the uncertainty and ambiguity performance domain. This domain focuses on navigating the project environment's inherent uncertainties, including managing ambiguity, where requirements, solutions, or future states are unclear, and complexity. By creating a safe environment for experimentation and continuous learning, the project manager is proactively managing the project's exposure to uncertainty and ambiguity, allowing the team to discover requirements and solutions iteratively. This approach acknowledges that not everything can be known up front and prioritizes adaptability and learning as core strategies for success in such environments.